Thank you so much for the wonderful conversation. I just kept thinking, what an exotic life you've had. I grew up in the 50s, the eldest of 12 children in an Irish Catholic family, and they were fanatically Catholic. And I think the Catholic equivalent of Ramadan was a very clumsy exercise. It was called Lent. And it was 40 days reflecting on the gruesome death of Christ and then his resurrection. And you had to do something very meaningful, like give up lollies. So it did not involve what I just see as the great beauty of Ramadan, the extraordinary description today that I have heard of the time of reflection, of coming to grips with yourself, of becoming grounded, of combining what naturopaths are telling us to do all the time now, that it's a mind, body, extraordinarily wise and very beautiful part of a religion that we really do need to know a great deal more about and which we can learn a great deal from. I do have to say before I go on, there's two things, Mohammed. The first is, if you're barracking for England in the Ashes, I do have to say the penance is you're going to have to go for Collingwood. It's the only penance that's appropriate. I can absolutely let you know about all apparatus, things like that. The second thing is that I wanted to be about, when you were talking about an experience that gives you empathy, in the wake of September 11, in the 1980s, I went to England, and I worked in England for a while. I was working as a journalist. And I went and it was at a time when the IRA were very active, and indeed, a place that I walked past every day was bombed. Anyhow, I was in this strange sort of, I can't remember where I was, but some sort of country area. I remember running across an English bloke, and he's somewhat older, and he was asking me about my background and where I came from. And he said, "What religion are you?" And I said, "Well, Catholic." He said, "So you're a terrorist?" I said, "No, I'm not. I'm from Australia." He said, "You're a terrorist. You're a terrorist. I don't want to speak to you. You're a terrorist. And if I'd known, I'd never have started this conversation," and stopped off. And I've never forgotten that feeling of outrage, of unfairness, of being judged. Because the night before I'd had to get off the train because they thought there was a bomb on the train, and I was standing on the station going, bloody IRA, what do they think? I've been furious about it. But that moment of being utterly judged because of one aspect of my life I have never forgotten. And it stood me in very good stead over the years, particularly as Australia struggles, and it has struggled since day one to cope with any diversity. I know in my father's time, the diversity that he represented was he was Irish Catholic in the days when it was Irish need not apply for jobs. Then we have post-war immigration, the various waves of various nations that have graced this shore, and Australia has struggled with it time after time after time. We are getting better. But finally now, and I failed to do since the start, we are at least acknowledging the First Nations people who show such extraordinary generosity to us when they welcome us to a country that we came and trampled on and took, a country that was never ceded. This is my third Iftar dinner. I went to the home of this beautiful young Muslim couple some years ago with my daughter. This is the second one I have attended with the bar. I just come away feeling a bit replete, a bit better, a bit warmer, a bit wider, and so I personally would like to thank everybody who has organised this dinner for us sort of Bob Australians who continue to struggle and who need. It makes a big difference sitting down with someone. I think last year I spent a lot of time talking to Azma, and it was fantastic. And just the feeling that you get, and it's such a wonderful thing to come in contact with other people rather than going, yes, I think I'm a tolerant person when I read about Islamic people in the newspaper. That sort of distance. It's a wonderful thing to be able to come tonight, to be with you all. I always take something away from it. Mostly I take away being jealous that I didn't grow up with Ramadan, which sounds wonderful. I thank you so much for that wonderful conversation. I would also like to say that in appreciation to you, Mohammed, and to you, the sort of, go you, it's like big woman at the bar, bring them on. There is a present to each of you. One is going to be presented to you, Mohammed, by Sam.
Thank you very much. You really enjoyed it. Yes, that over of course. This one. Yeah, we'll find out what it is.
Nice.
Thanks again. Really appreciate it. Yes.
And I'd ask Judge Robinson to present the gift of appreciation to you. So we moderated so well.
Same to you.
So finally, I would also like to acknowledge the contribution of the Victorian Bar Association and the Australian Intercultural Society, their efforts in building bridges tonight between the legal community and members from the Islamic community. I'd like to thank the ASRC for supplying the food this evening, and also there are people who need to be acknowledged for hard work behind the scenes. The quiet achievers of the Victorian Bar, Stephen Porter, who is the Event and Communication Coordinator, Matt Redden, who is the Communication and Stakeholder Lead, and the rest of the team at Vic Bar. From the AIS, Tanya Dean, and the rest of the team who contributed tonight in making this dinner a reality. Now, this has actually been written for me by, I was trying to sort of, add on my own personal touch, but I've got to say this last paragraph has to be read out because it's beautifully done. It is through these kinds of gatherings that we really get a taste of the diversity within the Australian community. We get the opportunity to learn about the different customs practiced by the various ethnics and faith groups within our community. It shows how important it is that for a harmonious society, we need to get to know one another, enhance our understanding of each other, so that we treat everyone with dignity and respect. We need those traits now more than ever. Thank you again for your company. I hope to see you all at another Iftar dinner. Ramadan Mubarak to you all. Thank you very much.